what was your favorite part of the podcast today?
My favorite part was making hand gestures at Mary and then realizing she can't see it from the way I did.
That's cute.
My favorite part was when Mary shared something very special that almost made her cry, and I feel like touched me too.
I think I can almost cry every episode for you,
I
Tim.
love that too, but I think my favorite part was when Tim brought up this whole analogy about the tree and the roots and the
Oh no, you
the
took
branches.
mine.
So good.
That was also mine. I liked listening to Tim get kind of like metaphysical with it.
Yeah. I liked realizing how old we all were when Facebook became a thing.
Not when Reggie admitted to making out with his cousin.
Didn't happen.
I needed
Get
it.
here earlier than I
Get it, yeah.
I just told the family 8:30 is when we have to leave, just in case there's accidents or anything like that. But I didn't get to eat, so
7:30.
I'm gonna be cranky.
It's 8:30 right now.
7:30. Yeah, I
That's-
don't want to leave at 8:30. That would
okay.
not be good.
We need to start this, so we're gonna
Oh yeah.
There's a little timer right
Got
there
it.
that just to make sure we know. It's okay. I think I want to make sure that the alarm's not on too. I need to add that to our
Oh.
checklist.
Don't
Sorry.
knock the light over, Mary.
No promises.
Don't tap the glass.
Don't tap the glass.
Guys, welcome. This is a show that we like to call Age, probably because that's its actual name. And I
For
am
now.
Reggie Tidwell, your host for today. And to my left is Dylan Garcia, to my right is Tim Scroggs, and over there, last but not least, Mary Greene. And if you've been watching, you know we do a little thing where we pull a topic out of a hat. It's very raw, very real, unscripted. And I'm gonna go ahead and get us started.
By hat, he means trash can.
Yes, this, well, I mean, this, you know, come on.
There's a bunny coming out today.
This could be a hat for somebody.
I'm just waiting. After last week's topic, I'm on
I'm like sort of scared. Yeah.
trepidation.
I'm really glad you're hosting today, though. I feel like your energy is exactly the kind of host's energy
Feels calm.
that matches what I needed today.
Which is hilarious because I have had a stressful morning, but I'm bringing
I've
it.
also had a stressful morning, so
Ooh, okay.
is it a good one?
I like how he hides it from us.
Yeah, I know. I had to
You
like.
guys will know before they know.
All right.
We did this.
It's roots. Background. I don't even know what the hell that means. but That's what we're doing.
Like a
is it the
person's
band?
root?
Because I could talk about them for a while. I met
Is that the
Questlove.
first thing that comes to your
Yeah, I
mind?
met Questlove once.
Ooh.
It was crazy. I was actually in St. Louis on Washington Avenue. I was with some friends, and they were starting to. No, it's on the floor.
Oh, okay.
You thought I put it back in
I
there?
was like, oh God.
I'm just gonna put it back in so we can do it again.
Round
later.
two. We would have forgotten that we pulled it. We would just do it twice. So sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I was walking down Washington Avenue with some friends, and they were all starting to just sputter out. They were getting tired, and they were ready to go home. And I was like, guys, I want to dance. It feels so good. It's so nice out. And so they left, and I kept walking, and I stumbled upon this little bar, and it was lit. Everybody in there was just dancing their asses off. They were spilling out onto the street, and I'm like, what is going on in there? And I walk in, and Questlove was doing a DJ set.
What?
And he was spinning all this old school hip hop and soul, and like, I danced for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
It was awesome. One of my favorite things. So that's,
How long ago was that?
oh my gosh. This would have been about 25 years ago.
Was that before they were on the
No,
late night?
no, this would have been some 40. Yeah, this would have
I
been
wouldn't have
about,
been
I was about 30. So yeah, this would have been about 24 years ago.
Wow.
I'm aging myself.
Dylan, how old were you then?
I wasn't even a thought.
She wasn't around.
My mom was in college. She was at Western
Whoa.
at that point.
Trippy.
One person watches Roots at a little club, and the other one is
Not even a
not
thought.
to be.
I'm just an
like-
egg in
Yeah.
a uterus.
Wow. You weren't even that yet.
Yeah, they have all
No,
their eggs.
no,
Oh, you
the
have all
eggs, they're there, man.
That's true.
I was
Man,
like,
look
they're
at
One
you.
day we'll
I
talk about
took biology,
epigenetics.
and I was really good at it, but obviously it's all just gone by the wayside.
It's okay. So many people.
all the eggs are there.
mystified.
All the eggs are there.
So you
Little
were just
Dylan
an
was
egg.
there.
You were the brightest egg in the bunch.
I think I'm just the one that survived, or like the one that was up for the charge.
Survived.
Like,
Isn't that maybe that is what is the smartest egg is the one that survives.
maybe. I was thinking of like the roots. There was like, for like my family, I'm like slowly coming to like, we're all like talking about like our generations and everything like that in my family right now, because like I got to see both of my great grandmothers live, and so we were talking about that. And on my mom's side, we call it the Boller gene, and it's like this like crazy like anger kind of like not like that, but like their last
Like a
name was
bowler hat?
Bowler. Their last name was Boller. And we've been talking about it because it's like we've came from a long line of like some really like, I wouldn't say society now would call them very angry women. I call them very passionate women.
Yeah.
And so we've been talking about how like my great grandmother carried that gene, and then my grandmother carried it, and then my mom carried it. Now I have it. But I was talking about passion.
Let's all call them passionate.
No, I call them passionate women. But
I'm in that camp.
I was talking with my mom, and my mom was like, when she birthed me, I have like all the DNA of like my great grandmother and beyond, because it all gets passed down through like eggs, like in your uterus. So that's what I thought about when I was thinking of roots.
Right. So
I love that.
back. There's the egg is still.
Yeah. So like when my great grandmother gave birth to my grandmother, all of like her like DNA and like generational
That is
history
so-
is like in the egg.
Yeah, the idea that
Love
women
that.
are born with, I'm just gonna say, the minute we start talking about biology, we're treading into really risky territory. I couldn't
That is
tell you who wrote the birds, so like, who knows what we're about to say. But the idea that like women are born with all the eggs that we're ever gonna have.
Yeah.
And so like, all of your eggs were inside of your mom's body, and
Mom's.
all of your mom's eggs were inside of your grandma's body, and so on and so forth. So there's
Wow.
That's what I
Yeah.
think about when I
Eggs
think of
within
roots.
eggs within eggs.
So you think about like,
Wow.
if someone experiences trauma in your lifetime, we don't think about that as a genetic thing, but it does have an impact on more than one generation of people.
I was just telling
Nested
Reggie
eggs.
that my youngest son was saying that he wishes he was a girl, and I said, why? He said, because they get to have babies in their bellies.
We're just
And that's what
carrying
we're
them
talking
around.
about, all these eggs.
I
and
love
these-
that.
Yeah.
That's so fitting.
Can we, I know this isn't the topic of the episode, but can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Because I'm on some,
We can talk about whatever we want.
it's our podcast.
Do it.
Sorry if you tuned in for roots. I have heard a lot. I'm on some very liberal sides of the internet where some very passionate women are talking about the state of the world right now. And I am not of the mind, like, I think there's a big gender divide that works against us as often as it works for us, kind of thing. Like, we can all agree patriarchy needs to shift away from where we are.
Yeah.
But, or that
disagree.
society needs
I
to
would
shift.
disagree. I think the maturity of the men in our culture needs to shift.
I think that's
I
both.
don't know that I agree with. I mean, that is true,
I
and
agree.
Oh,
also
yeah.
I don't think that the theory of patriarchy is serving us.
But I think
right now.
matriarchy or patriarchy can both work. I just feel like the maturity level of the leaders has to be to a place to where there is empathy and compassion and
And there
I
also
don't think
needs to be
it-
more women in leadership. So
Yeah,
that
I think you're right that as systems, they themselves have become really like entangled with the specific people who have gotten to use those systems.
100%.
And I think that this is what I was kind of trying to bring up, and it's really testy. Maybe today's not the day when
bring
Reggie and
it
I are
up.
both kind of
No.
like bedraggled coming in.
bring it up.
I'm gonna prepare myself.
That, like, yeah,
Let's
brace
duke
yourself.
it out. I'm ready.
That you know, it's not that the men who are alive today are the problem, but I do think that, I mean, some of them certainly are.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that men, like as a group, multi-generationally, are wounded. Like, I just don't feel like we've taken very good care of anyone, but especially men. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of assumption about what your role is supposed to be in the world and how you are supposed to behave, in the same way that I have expectations because I'm a woman. But I think they've been very harmful for a really long time. And so that's like how we got here. But the reason this all came up is because of roots, is because of eggs. Oh yeah, it's because
Follow it
because
back.
your son was like, oh, I wish I was a girl because they get to have children. And somebody on the internet, she's not the first one to say this, was like, oh, well, that's sort of like the original wound of men, is that they don't, especially before we understood how sex worked and before we understood how conception worked, it was probably this just miraculous thing that women got to have children, and there was no question about whose child that was. You might not, as the man, know for
Right.
sure. You might assume, or you might look at them and see a mark of yourself and hope,
Yeah.
but like a mother knows her child,
Oh,
whereas a
yeah.
father sort of there's that room for doubt, I guess. And
That's an interesting concept.
yeah, that was the theory that, you know, one of the original things that sort of set us on this journey to where we are was the root of
The envy of men because they couldn't have babies.
Yeah, maybe I don't really love the word envy because it seems to imply, I don't know, I want to almost call it insecurity or the uncertainty of men. Because again, if you go back to a time when like we didn't understand it, it was just miraculous. And it
Right.
probably seemed,
It's still miraculous.
yeah. I mean, we have a little bit more of a
definitely is.
peek behind the curtain, but
I mean, we know what happens, but still,
Yeah,
I
you
think
know
the
that you have
fact
a
that
role
it
in
does
it.
happen
Yeah.
is a freaking miracle. I
Yeah.
think it's amazing.
Well, the first thing I thought about was hummus. Because Roots was a growing hummus,
It was such a
homemade,
great,
handmade hummus company in
Oh,
Asheville.
yeah.
And speaking
it
of
was a great brand
speaking
too.
of men, I think the founder went off the rails from what I hear. I don't know what the rumors are around town, but it was a growing, amazing company from Asheville.
Great brand, great product.
did I tell y'all that I first encountered Roots hummus at a Whole
Outside.
Foods in
You
New
told
York
me.
City?
Yeah,
And I was just like,
that's
this stuff is
awesome.
really good.
Yeah.
I liked the weird flavors like the coconut
Yeah,
curry
they had
and
weird
stuff.
flavors.
I've
It was
tried
a good,
that and it was
like,
okay.
thickness.
Yeah.
Chipotle all day long.
Yeah.
With a dollop of chili crisp on top.
But imagine my pride when I'm like, this is so good. I wonder where it's from. And like I'm in branding, I'm looking at packaging all the time, and I turn it around. I'm like,
Asheville.
I was like, we're on the map, baby.
But now it's
Yes.
now
yeah,
it's defunct.
since then gone.
They've fallen from grace, sadly.
Didn't they? Wasn't their location? I don't know if it was where they were making the hummus, but it was in River Arts District,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's always when I think River Arts District, I'm like, well, how would Helene have affected
Right.
that? I don't know. But wild.
Well, it wasn't Helene. It was
Yeah, it was definitely not Helene.
The Rivers Arch District is like under some like, I'm not even gonna say like spiritual warfare, but like the fire the other day after
I haven't
Helene.
seen this yet.
Oh yeah, this
Mr.
was,
Homer
yeah.
Simpson had like fire hair coming out.
No, wait, I
yeah,
did
that
see
was
this.
wild.
I
Yeah.
forgot. I was thinking about the salvage station.
That's where the new salvage station
That was
is
where
going.
it's gonna be.
I
Yeah.
remember reading it and I was like, I thought the salvage station was going away, but they were relocating.
They were relocating there.
Jeez.
And it was a big fight to try to find a place. I know the owners, they're good friends,
Yeah.
and they
So
have
Helene
been,
and the fires.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
what
Helene
happens?
and the
What happens
fires.
when you get hit multiple times in life? You're like trying to make it.
yeah,
Flood wipes out your place.
Yeah.
Then you're
Do you
trying
go
to
back to your roots?
right. Like, well, I mean, I feel like that's what they were trying to do, right? They were
Yeah.
trying to relocate to a better
But
place,
the
and
story's
then
not
a
over.
fire.
Didn't they before?
How many
Helene-
times can we take this, though?
Yeah.
As
But they
people, as
are-
But weren't
humans.
they
they
also-
keep rising from the ashes. They are going to make this happen. I
It's-
have absolute
The
belief.
phoenix.
Somebody actually posted a reel the other day, and it was like that. It showed like some flood footage, and it showed the fire, and it was like, but we're still here. We're still
Yeah.
coming. We're still thriving.
Even before I don't know anything. Let me just go on record and say I have no
She's lying. She
idea.
knows a lot,
But I feel
likes
like I
to break the
remember
fourth wall a lot.
hearing it's like 240 was going to expand or 26 right there was going to expand.
Oh, that's still happening.
And that was partially why in the beginning they were like, well, this land is going to become the road. So they
Right.
knew that they couldn't stay in that
Right. They
location
knew
anyway.
it was limited.
right?
There's something about that. Like the world sort of like pushes you out. They're like, no, time to move on. Time for the
Yeah.
next thing.
All right, that's the roots of our city, right? And how they change,
Yeah.
and how are they growing or are they being ripped out? You know, like when everyone is moving through life at the pace of life, you don't really notice the things that are changing around you, the evolving, and you just wake up 20 years later and you're like, this is very different than what I
Yeah.
remember.
When I hear roots, I automatically go to like the way back before my people were in North America. I'm like, okay, how did we all get here? But it's so strange because I feel more connected in some ways to the idea of my Scots-Irish heritage than I do to like my more recent like Appalachian heritage, so to speak. It's almost like, I think especially as someone who moved away and like you kind of have to reclaim it differently, remix it sort of.
Yeah.
There is this sense of like, I feel connected in the, like I eat a potato and my heart sings, kind of thing, you know, like
That sounds
Really?
like a shirt.
kind of like way
I eat a
connected
potato
back.
and
What
my
kind of
heart
potatoes are
sings.
you eating?
I probably feel like the echoes of generational poverty and like famine, or at least that's what I told myself on the obesity episode. But I think like, yeah, there is also, it's almost like which roots am I paying attention to? Like we all have that tap root that goes all the way back, whether you want to own it or not. And then there's all the like fresher, newer ones. I feel like in some weird way, New York is now part of my history. Yeah,
yeah,
like I've got people
absolutely.
there and places there. I just went back with my mom and I was like, this is like a different lifetime, you know, but I feel so connected to it. So it is like the difference between stuff that was given to me and stuff that I got to build for myself, maybe. This is my roots.
What gets you hot about this topic? I can't imagine.
What a way of saying
I
it.
know
tell you.
you've been holding
He's
on. to
on
something.
it.
Yeah.
I could see it bubbling up.
Well, I just got back from my grandma's birthday. She just turned
Grandma.
86.
That's right.
And so it's an interesting topic.
Happy birthday,
on the heels
Grandma.
of this.
It's
And
interesting. My grandma's like 85.
And she's an incredibly strong, beautiful person. And all the people that were there and the legacy of a life. And so one by one, they were calling up all of her children, and then all of her children's children, then her children's children's children.
Oh my
And then the
gosh.
stage was just packed with people. And I was looking at it like, this is what happens.
Yeah.
This is how life works. And when I was interested, you know, when your grandparents are alive and you're young, you don't think that they're people. You know that they're humans and they breathe, but they're like these, I don't know what it is. They're like these features that are there, but you don't realize they had a backstory and they were young,
Yeah.
and they fell in love, and
Oh,
they had a
yeah.
career, and they had like this thing. And so as I was getting older, I lost my grandpa, and I asked, and it was before the age where I could really get to know him. And the last few years of his life had dementia, and it was really bad. And so you kind of forget who he was. But I asked my grandma, this grandma, to write his story. And she did.
Really?
She did. It's like, it's pages long. Talks about
tell
where
me
he was
about this.
born.
I love that.
And how they met and where he grew up. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, we're missing it.
Yeah.
You know, we're missing the root. I think I grew up, and this is not to say something bad about being Christian, because I am a Christian, but I grew up really Christian, where your roots didn't matter. All that mattered was your Father in heaven and Jesus, your brother. And I didn't know my roots as a person. I didn't know where I was from. I didn't know my grandparents' line, the things they loved and were good at. I didn't know anything about my family.
This is fascinating for me to hear because in my family, I feel like those two concepts are so tangled up together in good ways and bad ways. But like Christianity and the relationship with God and Jesus and all those stories and all those songs is, at least some people believe, like what held us together. And I think churches, I wonder, because you were like almost missionary, you know, like going around and almost evangelizing, but like churches were the fiber of the community. Yeah. There are pictures of my grandpa on the walls of the church because he helped build it, kind of thing. So it's fascinating.
Was it a root for people without roots? Because America's made up of people that came from random places. There's no one that came from here.
Yeah, well, it's like not just genetically, but community. Like, how do you scratch out a life for yourself?
Yeah.
And who do you cling to? It's almost like you hear about like aspen trees are actually like one big organism connected under the ground. They look like separate individuals, but they're actually like this huge network, or mycelium, that kind
the
of thing.
mushrooms.
I
Oh.
think I was pretty much aware of my roots because when I was very young, I had great-grandparents still, which was awesome. And I got to stay with them sometimes, which was really cool because my great-grandmother would cook the best pancakes. She would do this thing where she would like make them, and then I think she would pan fry them in butter so they got crispy around the edges. It was so good. And I remember those. So, I think the main reason I was well aware of my roots was because we had photos everywhere. We had photo albums. So there were pictures of them when they were young. There were pictures of them, independently, and when they were together, pictures of my uncle when he was like young and in the military. So there was always some some connection back to what came before me through pictures, which interestingly enough, I would, obviously grow up and become a commercial photographer, and I love capturing moments. I'm constantly photographing my kids and our lives, and just for posterity, so they exist, they're there.
But how much of your history did you learn through oral tradition?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I would say though, a lot of times at the dinner table, you'd hear these stories about something that happened, like I would hear about my grandmother who raised me and my uncle who was her brother, things that they would get into, so there was definitely some oral transfer of
More
what that.
recent.
Yeah,
Have you ever heard that photos replace your memory?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I don't believe
That's
that.
when photos really came out early on when they were first invented.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
thought they stole your soul. But then
Oh,
there's
of
been
course.
some new research coming out about this is why we won't let our kids see pictures of something we went to right away,
Oh, that makes sense.
because it'll hijack
still
your
in your soul.
memories
Yeah,
and you
'cause you'll
won't
only
actually
think of the
remember the
photo.
event. You'll think of it
We're
from the third
soulless.
person.
From
so
the
this
photo.
this is something we're getting actually with social media, is that we don't see our lives from inside of ourselves. We see our lives looking at us. And pictures cause you to do this too. You're not looking at the world and experiencing the world. Like a kid doesn't know that they're in their body and experiencing the world because they haven't defined inside and outside and independent self versus
that's like,
the
yeah.
whole. And so when you look at pictures, you start to see the world as like this looking in on things versus looking out into it and having the experience, letting the experience be the thing that enriches you versus I remember the way that looks.
I typically don't show my kids a lot of pictures. Like occasionally they'll be like, oh, let me see that one shot of me that you took. But it's not like we don't go on a trip and then we look at all the photos.
Right.
Like we talk about the experience. We talk about, like we went on that trip recently and we talk about what it was like to go to the Crazy Masons and have the super delicious, ice cream shake in a mason jar. We talked about the AI image I made of myself on the alligator. Like we talk about the experiences. So I feel good that I'm not having
My
that
kids
experience where I'm
beg me to
showing.
watch.
Oh,
They
really?
beg me to look at the pictures.
No, I do not. Yeah.
I mean, like especially when you're filming, like the little ones, they're like, "Let me see."
I think it's
Like,
because
what
I'm
are you doing?
always
What are you-
documenting. It's become they are desensitized
Yeah.
by me having the
It's like
phone and
your
taking
camera
pictures.
is a part of your body now,
Yeah,
and they
so
don't
they're
even-
like not like they would just be coming over and constantly checking. So it's good.
You've really made me think, and I want to hear from Dylan on this too. But as someone who's, I'll tell my story and then we'll get back to it. In
Tell your story,
2025, I decided I wanted to completely get off of Facebook. It was not a place that I got on that often, so it's not like a place that people could talk to me. Sometimes people would try to message me on Facebook, and I wouldn't be there to respond, and then I would feel guilty when I finally got to the message, and I was like, oh God. Do I explain? Do I apologize? It's not really my fault that they're trying to reach out to me on a channel that I don't really use.
Yeah,
So like there was a lot of obligation.
You don't owe them
and it was-
anything, Mary.
And it was a bunch of, thank you, Reggie. Yeah. I have to tell myself that a lot. But it was also a lot of people from, the people I was connected with on there were a lot of people from my hometown. And I have a lot of baggage about where I come from and how I grew up.
So it's good they couldn't get in touch with you.
I mean, actually, I was like, I'm ignoring this on purpose.
Right, but them being there is like this lurking memory.
Right, and sadly, like a lot of extended family who like don't really know me, but they know of me.
Right.
I'm also, not to be weird about it, but like I'm one of very few redheads in my family, so it's like I think I'm somebody that people remember just because I'm the redhead, and so, but I don't have the same experience with them. It was very just emotionally complicated for me, and so in 2025, I was like, I'm gonna actually all the way get off of Facebook. I was like, what am I actually losing if I get off of Facebook? And by get off of Facebook, I meant delete my account, like cease to be
You can
found.
go
Oh,
back
like-
in and
like-
get it right back.
They'll let you for a certain period of time. I
Like
can't remember how
absolutely
long.
disappear. Wow.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was a new rule. They had to delete it. I think.
Wow.
Or that was in Europe.
Yeah, sure. I think they did say, hey, you can come back within so many days when I deleted my account. And I'm not sure if I'm
You
past
just
that.
deleted it.
But I was like, I'm ready to do this. This doesn't feel like it's serving me. It feels like baggage. And I was like, well, what am I missing if I get off of Facebook? Facebook Marketplace, which
Number one.
in like our community, a lot of stuff happens on Facebook because it's the first social media site that kind of like made it to Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm missing, like there's a Rolodex of people, right, that I don't have their phone numbers. I don't know how to get in contact with them and they don't know how to reach me. So I was worried about that. And then the big thing for me was photos and memories, because that was like where we stored. Facebook existed probably from the time I was 10, maybe younger. And I wanted a Facebook before my parents wanted me to have one. I like snuck onto MySpace and was I lied about my birthday to get on. So like I had all these photos, not only that I had taken and saved, used Facebook as the holder of things on like weird little flip phones, like the quality is so bad, but also pictures that people had taken of me and tagged me in. And I was going through and I was just like, I'm going to pull all these photos down. I'll just sort them based on the albums they were in, maybe like chronologically or something.
You can save them, right.
And it took a while. I was at Alex's parents' house. We were also going through a big culling on their side, cleaning out a bunch of just things that they'd had laying around. And I was sort of doing it in the background. And I won't call it a panic attack because I don't really know what that would feel like. But I was like in the process of clearing these photos. And I freaked out. I called my mom's sister, Heather. Like she and I call us like the softies in my family. That like we can have feelings and don't get weird about it. But I was like, even now thinking about it, I could cry again. I had to lay down on the bed and like do deep breathing. And I was like, oh my God, looking at these photos. One, it took me back to places that I'd forgotten I'd been.
Yeah.
And two, I think there was something about seeing myself through someone else's lens. I think when you say looking at photos, it's one thing to say, oh, that replaces my memory. And I think it does. Like I'll look at pictures of myself as a child and it reminds me of some feelings that I had forgotten, usually the good ones, but it also sort of it extracts out the other things that were happening. Like I can look at a photo somebody took of me and be like, I was actually miserable when this photo was taken or whatever. I'm a tortured soul, but for no good reason.
It's that red hair.
Yeah, I guess since day one. But all I'm trying to say, this long way of saying, I think looking at myself through someone else's eyes, it's hard to differentiate sometimes.
Yeah.
You see a photo somebody else took of you, and you might like the photo, or you might not like the photo, or you're trying to remember it differently. But I think it took a minute for me to put together, like one of the experiences I was having is, oh, this person that I've lost touch with, and maybe we had like a falling out, or we don't, for whatever reason, we don't talk anymore. It seems like they were really invested in me, and they like really wanted to be my friend. I have like 400 photos that this person took of me and tagged me in. I don't know how many other people were getting tagged in photos by that person, but like, wow, such a big part of my history that's been documented was documented by this person, and this is how they saw me during
Maybe they
that
were
time.
stalking you.
I mean, I was aware when they were in the room. I
They
don't
weren't
know what
lurking.
He wasn't even there.
I
Why did he
don't
come
know
to
what
get
other
that
photos
picture?
they had, what was publicly accessible. But
It brings up a soft spot in a lot of people, and that's what I've noticed, that whenever you get sucked into the photo reel, and you start looking through back the images, usually it's sadness that comes. I think there's a grieving, because you can never be your past self.
Man, you
and
know-
our world wants to be their younger version of themselves, and I think that's what's causing a lot of the distortion in who we are now. Like you see actors and actresses and social
like
influencers.
self-altering to
Right.
try to
Yeah, yeah,
recapture.
yeah.
And there was this whole movement after the Zoom COVID era when people were trying to get surgery based on their edited version of their Zoom personality.
Oh, that's so
God,
weird.
I
That
didn't
was
hear
an
about
influx
that.
of plastic surgery
Oh,
happened
that's awful.
for people trying to, I want to look like this. They take screenshots.
Also, I can go
Oh,
off
man.
camera for 3 weeks and nobody will ask questions.
Right, because they had to come back
man.
into the world. And I think
Yeah.
when you look at yourself and you look at everyone else, I think that you remember too much. I think our minds are meant to forget.
That's definitely true. And your memory shifts, by the way. It's not a whole,
And ancient traditions were passed down through oral tradition so that the myth could take place of the reality. Because the reality is so hard that people have trouble living in it all the time. And so the myth of a history, the myth of the good and the bad and people supporting you was what memory was about versus the literal interpretation of memory.
But don't you also think, we're talking about oral tradition and storytelling and song, it's also about, as a group, we collectively are pulling out the pieces of this that we want to remember.
Yeah, highlighting.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much you can remember. That's the thing with, I think that's happening with AI is we're trying to remember everything now. Like every meeting has to be recorded, transcribed. Every photo has to be taken. Like I was having dinner with someone I really, really respect. And I was like, I gotta get a picture of this because I had this feeling like no one will believe me. And if it, you know that old saying about if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it.
You can always take a selfie with me, Tim. Don't worry about it.
But these were like really high-end designers that I had looked up to my whole life, and I never got a picture.
Yeah, well, because you're like, I don't want to make it weird.
But we were like having pizza. We were having pizza around it didn't replace my memory, but it was like, in this world, did something happen? If you don't have a picture of it or a transcription of it,
picture didn't
or an
happen.
email of it,
I say that all the time.
Absolutely happen.
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say something because you brought up something that I was feeling that I was going to share, and you hit it right on. You hit the nail right on the head. When Mary was talking about looking at pictures and getting emotional about things, I was reminded of a time when I'm guessing I was probably about 7 or 8, and we had this little like picture music wheel thing. It was like maybe hexagonal, and it spun and it played music, and it played this da 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 da.
I feel like I'm there.
That song.
Okay, Anastasia.
I need to find the name of that song, but the song, I mean, it's just embedded because I would just turn that thing and it had all these pictures of me on it and as a baby. And I remember, and I'm sure the song played its part because it's a really beautiful, emotive, sort of nostalgic song. But I started crying because I started thinking.
As a 7-year-old kid?
Yeah, I started thinking
man.
about, I'm not that little baby anymore. I won't ever be. It was my first time realizing the thing you just talked about, that I will never ever be
that person again.
That little baby again.
And you grieved
and
as a 7-year-old.
I laid there on the floor and just kept playing it and looking at the pictures of me and grieving.
Man,
it was
that's
wild.
So intense.
And I remember that moment.
Yeah.
I
You've
remember
always
how I
been
felt in
tender,
that
Reggie.
moment.
Well, when my grandpa was going down with dementia,
Yeah.
music is the last thing you forget.
Oh, really?
That
That's
tracks.
good.
I believe
I
that.
love
It
music.
registers deep in your memory. That's why
Yeah.
oral traditions were
Good.
passed down through song. It's because you can remember a song more than you can remember details and facts about things.
Which is why I can remember that
Yes,
melody
it locked
all
in.
these years later. It's locked in.
I'm curious because I have a friend, Jake. You may have heard of him. His family discovered this stuff. I've mentioned Jake
that
on
Jake.
That
You know
Jake.
the
I was
Jake.
imagining there's like a famous Jake that I'm out of the loop on again.
I've mentioned Jake like 12 times on this podcast.
The Jake.
He's a big part of my life, but his family has discovered almost like like the golden tablets buried in the ground. They've discovered this. Sorry, I just saw the Book of Mormon this weekend. He just found this text of like telling the genealogical like history of his family, going like back to like way back before they immigrated. They had land in, I think it was England. Anyway, so I wonder, you're saying like oral tradition, things are passed down in a different way. I wonder how much of that is nature versus nurture, or like since we've learned how to sing, that was the original way to tell stories. And now that we've learned how to write and how to print, that's a new way to tell stories, and we hold on to information differently. Now we've got photos. And I was wondering, like, I think the role of photography, well, you in particular, the role of photography in each of our lives has probably been different because access to cameras has been different. When I was thinking about the Facebook thing, I was like, what has it been like to always have a camera on you?
It is so funny you mentioned that because last night, so I blocked my partner's family on Facebook as soon as we got together because I didn't want anyone to go down on my digital archive that I have of myself as a child.
It wasn't because you didn't like them.
It's
you just
not
didn't want
because
them
I
digging
didn't
up your
like them.
childhood.
Yes, and I remember, and I was going back last night to like finally unblock them. They're like, "Are you on Facebook?" And I was like, "Funny you mentioned that. I'm not." But like I was like going last
I
night.
am.
You're like, I just got one. And it's populated with your photos from the last 20
I
years.
went last night.
You have to
and
come clean to them.
Well, wait, hang on. When did you
Before this airs.
when did you get a Facebook account though?
I got a Facebook account. What was it like? I remember my earliest photo last night from there was like 2010. 2010, 2011.
So that would have been
I would have been 9, 7.
Think about that.
Somewhere
9 years old
9?
with a Facebook account.
But wasn't it an intimate thing?
It was
Wow.
pretty cool.
When you have, okay, so you have all these
Intimate,
pictures
though.
and blocking them isn't a bad thing because it's like a private thing.
Yeah. it's
I
a
was also
private
like
thing.
a really embarrassing kid, and like I found like my early ages of graphic design with like PixArts, and I found all that, and like
Girl.
Chevron was back and the mustaches.
I gotta,
Do you have us blocked on there?
can we?
I didn't even know y'all were on
Yes.
Facebook.
I'm not on, oh, I kind of am on Facebook, but I'm not really on
I
Facebook.
am definitely on Facebook.
But you were too old for Facebook.
I'm not gonna look.
I went on a digital like delete and archive last night, and I was like, holy shit! Like, what was I doing as a child? But it was like also like that weird, like awkward, like kind of child thing or
love
whatever.
that.
But when you were saying that, I've always took pictures. I've always realized like I'm the person in the room taking pictures. So when like people took pictures of me, I was like, oh, I'm understood. Like people are like wanting to like spend that time on me. But and I like went back like y'all were saying, and I was like, ooh, like you know, like I was like now that I'm like this like cool. That was a little
Agreed.
arrogant. That was a
No,
little
no,
arrogant.
she is not being arrogant. We all agree.
But like now it's like
You came into your own.
I'm trying to build my own brand of like what does that look like for me as like I am gonna take pictures because it's like in my childhood.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was looking down these pictures last night, I was like, oh, this was like the early ages of aesthetics for this child.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is what Tumblr was, and now it's like Cosmos and Pinterest. But like Tumblr at the time was that for that kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of like emotions or whatever. But I deleted like over 200 pictures last night off of Facebook.
I
Really?
want you.
Delete?
Yeah, delete.
Do you download them?
No.
Gone.
I regret that for you.
Everybody goes
No,
through
I
their
just went.
phases.
I was in New York this weekend. I'll bring it up 6 more times before the end of this podcast. I went to the Met. They've got.
proud of you for going to New York.
Thank you so much, Reggie. You got to go to the Cooper.
Especially
Hewitt. It's like
before
they did
Met
it for
Monday.
you. Yeah.
Met Monday.
I was there. They've got a bunch of Raphael on
Really?
exhibit, and like obviously you know him for the paintings and the I'll call them murals. They're probably called frescoes or something very fancy. But you know what else is on display is really early like charcoal drawings and like studies watching his craft develop over time. And so it hurts my heart that you went through and deleted that stuff because I think that's how you make an artist. Like
Well-
you've got a
Oh,
point
yeah,
of view
totally.
and it developed over time.
But here's
And
a counter argument. Scarce assets are the most valuable. So when we have so many photos of so many things, they actually become worthless.
Or maybe I lied.
I mean,
so you
when
wouldn't
the
try to
printing-
look it up.
depends on what kind of value.
No, when the
you're
printing
trying to
press
put on.
was invented,
Yeah.
illuminated manuscripts skyrocketed in value.
Right.
And printed books became cheap.
Oh, that,
When photography was first started and you were like, kunk, kunk, and you got to stand there for like an hour.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Photography was very valuable.
Oh, of course.
Now digital cameras, we have 1,000
take a
pictures we don't
million
even see. We
pictures.
take 10 of each shot. We're like, just in case someone blinking. Maybe someone's in the wrong face. Maybe they're got like.
Don't make fun of photographers.
And our
Come on.
pictures, literally, like I went on a world trip around the world. That's a good way to say
In
it.
case you
it
didn't
took
know.
no.
And I took
Yeah.
tons of pictures and no one's seen them because I took so many. If I'd have taken 1 or 2 or let's say 10 shots that I loved, imagine who would have seen those 10 shots. Everyone. But I have so many, I haven't culled through them. I haven't gone through and picked the ones that are the best. And I think that we're missing out on the scarcity of things. So like if you had one picture of you as a child, imagine how valuable that photo is versus the albums that we have of us as children.
I think I need to put
still
you
would
through an
love to see the
exercise
albums.
of curating an Instagram monthly photo dump.
Right.
I think I need to put you through that.
Yes, you should.
Take me through it.
Because
I
her
think,
photo
I
dumps
think
are
I need to
awesome.
put you through
And her
one.
photo
need
dumps
a
so are
dump.
capturing different parts of her experiences, and so you can't distill that down to one photo.
But it gets me emotionally. It's hard for me to go through all these pictures because it's like I have to grieve that person. I don't look at photos a lot because I live
That's your
present.
personal experience, Jen.
Maybe I'm not morbid enough yet.
No,
I
don't
do
know.
wonder. I do wonder if it's like nostalgia compounds over time. I mean, you were doing it at 7, so maybe that's not true.
Because here's the thing, because I would still love to see, I don't have the thing where photos replace my memory. I can see a photo from a particular period of my youth and remember all the things that happened that I hold in my heart and the good things and the bad. Like there's a picture of me and my cousin from when we went to Hollywood. We were on this, like, it was when I was with my church, when I was in the church when I was young. We did this trip out west. We went to Topeka, Kansas, and Salt Lake City, Utah, and Las Vegas, Nevada.
Are you secretly a Mormon? Is this what you're trying to tell me?
No, we made it all the way to California, and we went down California, but we stopped in LA, and we were actually in Hollywood, and my cousin and I got into this big fight. And there's this picture of him that I still have.
It's backwards when I look at it.
There's a picture of him walking towards the charter bus. And when I see that photo, I remember all the good things and all the bad things that happened on our trip. I remember the big fight. I remember making out with my cousin and being back good.
Making out?
Making up with my
I
cousin.
was about to go down the roots path in a whole different way.
You said making
Different
out.
family lineage, not mine. No, making up with my cousin and being good again and having so much fun.
I bet you were good after that.
So all those making out. So all
really smooth
those
things
memories
over.
are still there. Like that one photo doesn't replace. It didn't lock in. Like this is all that happened. So I have a different connection with photography. Photography is like a slice of a movie. That's how I look at it. It's like one still from the movie, and when I see the still, I remember the whole movie.
So what's the difference between, looking at a photo of a life that you've lived and you were present for that moment versus getting back to roots, looking at photos of like your ancestors or like the moments that you weren't there for?
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
Does that connect you think?
I think it could. I think it has for me.
But we don't have pictures of the roots that I want to look into.
That's the thing. I want those
drawings, maybe, but
it's mysterious drawings. My family was not that
Cave
creatively
drawings.
talented.
Yeah.
No, I want like
hieroglyphics.
I miss my favorite photos are candid photos, and I just all the photos I have of my relatives from way back because cameras were
like
more
this.
scarce. Yeah, it's like let's all stand beside this.
Yeah.
Your grandfather just built this stairwell. Let's stand next to it, kind of thing. Like they'd find something they were proud of and mark the moment that way.
Absolutely.
But I want to see my grandmother like in motion. There's a
you want to see
photo.
a video of her.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I would love there's a photo of my grandmother that I'd never seen. I call her my granny. It's my dad's mom, Avery County, North Carolina. And Granny, I didn't know this, but I didn't find out till she died that she was like this outdoors woman and she loved to hike and fish and hunt.
Like this,
and there's this
vibes.
photo of her like on a fishing expedition or something, and she's like wearing, I don't know, she looks like she's on safari to me, like relative to how I
love
knew
that.
her. But I was like, I connect with this woman. I see myself, not that I'm very outdoorsy, but just like this active, very alive person. And she seemed so prim and proper and maybe even sometimes prissy when I knew her. I spent a lot of time with her as a child, and people tell me that I'm like her. But I never like saw the full scope of that compliment until I like started to see these snapshots, slices of her life. I'm like, God.
How did those make you feel, seeing those?
Thanks for asking, Reggie. I have a hard time tapping into that on this podcast.
Bring it.
It made me feel like almost disconnected in a way. I definitely grieved. It was at a funeral, so I was sad to begin with, but she was ready to go on. She kept telling us she wanted to go be with Julian in heaven. But just this feeling of, oh, here's a person that I've literally known my whole life. This is a person who I believed knew, maybe didn't know me as an adult so super well, but like understood my origins in a way that nobody else did. She gave us a book that like gives the story of her lineage, like her people. She's very invested. She was doing research. My brother got that from her. He's big into that kind of thing. Yeah. But it made me a little sad that here's this person that I thought not that I knew all her intimate details of her life, but like I felt like I knew her, and then discovering that there was all this distance between us that I never closed. And it was less about, I think my family harps so much on the story of how we got here, we've been on this land for however many years and we're proud of that and we've whatever, but like the personal stories of who we as individuals are, I feel like get kind of lost in that, and that's sad.
I will say when I see, and thanks for sharing that. I love that you were able to go there.
I'm feeling way different than I did when I walked into this podcast, and that's
I hope other
awesome.
people that watch this feel the same way.
In terms of photos I think photos are interesting and they can tie you back to roots that you know nothing about. Not your own roots, but other people's roots.
Yeah.
And one of the things that comes to mind is on my wife's side, we have this big family reunion out in New Jersey every year. And when I
Jersey.
go, they have the unks will put the projector on and show all these photos from through the decades, through the family. And I'll see all these young photos of my wife playing with her cousins when she was young, and seeing all these people who I have now come to know in their current state, but seeing them when they were young. And there's something really remarkable about that, because one, I think it's nice that I'm also hearing stories as people are seeing these photos. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was when so-and-so did the such and such, and somebody split their pants. Like you're hearing all these stories that are bringing these photos to life. I don't know that I could ever lose that. I'm just harping on you about.
But you're thinking
photography.
about the branches. I'm talking about the roots.
Those are roots, because
No,
you can
the
see
branches
them.
are adjacent to our lives. I'm talking about the things that nurture us, the things
But
that
these are
brought
people-
nutrition to our
But think about the
beingness
people in those
life.
photos that are no longer, that I never got to meet, and being able to hear stories about them.
I am not tracking with branches and roots. Can you say more?
So you know the tree, usually when someone says their family tree,
Yeah.
it's usually the tree
Yeah.
and the branches.
Yeah.
You know, this goes up this way, this goes up this
Yeah.
way. The roots is a different story.
Who would be
the
the
roots?
roots?
Is in the ground. It's in the darkness. It's the part that's in the depths.
The people that are dead, they're in the ground.
I mean, dead
one
for
way
a
of looking
long
at it.
time.
Yeah.
Like ancient dead.
So you have to go back generations.
I'm talking generation. I'm not talking like
Ancestry.
people that lived on a tree 100 years ago.
You're talking about ancestry. You're talking about
On a tree.
On a branch, sorry.
On a tree.
Gosh, that got dark.
Well, that's all relative too, though. Relative family trees. I mean, it's like you're basing that off of, and for good reason. Like, I am at this point in time, I'm on the tree. You're like putting yourself relative. It's a web at the end of the day. Like everybody's connected
Relative to
differently.
what? Right.
I'm saying when you draw a family tree, where do you start?
Oh yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, and I'm saying, so what is branches and what is roots? It's all
Yeah.
kind of.
I think it can be.
I feel roots. The way I drew this, and I did a meditation on this one time, and it came to me.
He has the answer.
I feel that a tree is a good metaphor. I wanted to be a tree. I went through this movement where the tree is this thing of stability that is there in the rain and in the sun and in the spring and in the winter and in this, no matter what it is, it stays, it's steadfast. And
Unless
it
there's too much
always
rain,
lives.
then the roots
but
get
it-
soggy and then it falls over in the wind.
That's rare though. I mean, it's unless there's a big hurricane, but even then, there's a time for all of us to die. It
Yeah.
will soon die.
And they feed the ecosystem.
They feed
They
dead
do. They go
trees.
right back
trees are
into
a
They
huge
work
part.
constantly.
Yeah.
They were constantly creating oxygen.
Yeah.
So I was really enamored with trees. So I was doing this meditation, and I just saw everyone as trees. And the part on the ground where the tree trunk goes
The
in
trunk.
is where we are. That's where we live. What goes under
what
the
I was looking for.
What goes under the ground is like the quantum field or something that we can't see.
Right.
And it's something that brings us.
I was not ready. That was a hard
The
left
quantum
turn.
And then
I mean, go on, but-
it's a realm of possibilities. So sometimes when we get into pictures, we see.
Oh, obviously, that's what
We-
roots meant. Like, we should have been talking about the quantum field.
Quantum field.
Sorry.
Photos harness our imagination in a way that makes it hard to imagine because it's really captured literally. It's not a memory. It's not a mythical memory.
Harry
Mythical
Potter. Read the
memories.
books, whole different than watching the movies, and now I can't remember what was in my head when I read the books.
Really?
Exactly.
Wow.
The books was a magical experience.
Yeah.
The movie, not so much, because pictures lock you into something, the way they look, the way they dress, the way the era they're in. It doesn't have myth. Myth is timeless.
Yeah.
So myth is what makes
personal experience too.
myth is what makes us adults in our.
I did see Daniel Radcliffe this weekend in Every Brilliant Thing. Go on.
Did you
Go ahead.
really?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, really?
She went to New York. Did you not know that?
How did you bring that in? Did you?
Everything
Did you plan
goes
me to
back.
talk about the quantum
She
field?
totally planned
That
for
was, I am reeling from how we went to here, and I want to keep going. Sorry.
Okay, so here's the thing. So the branches to me are us, our lives going into the air. The air is like this, the spiritual world. So like the spirit that binds us in our families, in our love. Those are like the branches.
Okay.
But the deep endlessness, the thing that allows us to connect with the other trees.
Is
Is
the roots.
the mythological,
Oh, nice.
imaginative that you and I could be connected at our roots, even though you didn't look at pictures of me at
Right.
this thing.
Right.
Because you're locked into the branches versus the trees that are connected at the root level.
But our roots could be intertwined. And then
Our roots could be definitely intertwined.
Oh, I love that.
So there's
That's a
like,
nice metaphor.
I think that we are all connected. You just said on the layer, on the underground,
Yeah.
all the roots are connected. That's what we are as humans. When the
Yeah.
astronauts look back at the Earth, they're like, this is one being. Everyone is coming from the same thing,
Yeah.
the same source. So the roots are the thing that make us alive. They're not the thing that birthed you.
I love
They're
that.
the thing that makes you alive, and it gives you the capacity to connect to something you've never connected with before. So it's not like some people grab onto roots and they're like, "You don't know where I came from." Yeah. Sometimes with Deep South, where I grew up too, it's like,
Right.
you don't belong here. You don't know what it's like to be here. You know, like
Yeah.
all these things, and we form a barrier, a boundary where no one can cross unless they understand you.
Right.
And so that's what these photos lock us into these stories that we tell ourselves about where we're from. But we are actually from something greater than the mother. A mother, we're from the mother. We're like endlessness. So I guess that's what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
we are all rooted together. And there's something about the thought of a root that is different than the thought of a branch. A root isn't as affected by wind and storms as a root.
Because it's
A
protected.
branch
It's underground.
is really affected, can break, can be
Yeah,
struck by lightning.
totally.
But you can actually cut a
It's
tree
exposed.
down.
The
Right.
branches are exposed. Yeah.
You can cut a tree down and a new tree will sprout up from
Yeah.
its roots.
Right.
They're both life-giving in a different
Yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah.
But it's
The
like the root has to
I
come
love that.
first.
Right, you get the sun and the air and then the rain soaked up from the soil, but the soil is completely dark.
One of my
Under the ground
favorite
is just dead dark.
photos is this photo of the tree system, and it shows the roots going deep down in the ground and the branches going up into the air, and it's like
It's a
they
mirror.
mirror each
Right.
other,
Yeah,
and I think
that's-
that's really cool. They just have different purposes. The roots are I think locking you into your history and your ancestry and your past, and your branches are taking you out into your exploration of what's possible.
Well, and I can get down with a metaphysical metaphor. Like I like the idea of the roots not only being, X beget Y beget Z, like the beginning of the Bible, but also like where we all as life kind of source from, and like I don't know how much capacity I have to really imagine the full extent of that because
But
that's
think
huge.
about the Bible,
but-
since you brought it up. Jesus' line doesn't go through just men as it did in tradition. He has like 2 or 3 women in his line of his bloodline.
I would say he has more than 2 or 3
No,
in his bloodline.
like traced by history.
I see. Yeah, it's like
through history.
There's certain
and the
women that got pulled out.
traditions, Right. In kingship, in royal lines, everything is through the male, unless you go to the cultures where it's matriarchal. But what I'm saying is that the shift there is that it isn't just a certain way, it changes based on possibilities, what's possible.
Sure, and I think it comes back to me. It's so focused also on the voice of the person writing or the perspective of the person taking that photo. It's like I think that's the difference between the oral tradition that you were talking about earlier, like the songs. We all inhabit that. I guess somebody wrote the song at the end of the day. It's like
Yeah.
I do. You were talking about scarcity of media making it valuable, and I was like, I think I agree with that for like right now, but I want the Dylan Garcia archive to get dug up one day and for somebody to just be like, miracle. I found the original works, the unknown artifacts of, I think in history, you kind of have to prove you were here in some ways. So when you talked about Ex begat Y begat C, and Tim can talk circles around me when it comes to the Bible, but I think it's interesting why the person who wrote that down chose to highlight certain pieces.
Certain parts of it, yeah.
And I do think we talk about patriarchy as just like a lens through which you might see the world. So it makes sense that you would focus on the men in that story based on where they're coming from. What made the women noteworthy to them, to the writer in that moment? I don't know.
I did have an epiphany though. I think the reason why those photos affect me differently, I think it's generational. I think because I'm 54, so I've been here long enough to where I didn't have Facebook for a larger part of my life than you guys, the digital collection of photos. And so because of that, I developed probably a muscle that locked me more to my experiences than to these physical snapshots of things. And I think that maybe that's like a practiced thing. I got a decade on you, 2 on you, 3 on you, where I didn't have to like...
Yeah, you were telling that story where she wasn't even born, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
I don't know. I feel like my memory has never been all that good. Even now, I definitely don't have a good memory now, but I find photos to be helpful because there will be parts of my life that I completely forgot existed. And I'll see a photo and be like, oh yeah, I was there. That's a piece of what made me. And that's kind of a scary thought to be like, I was there and I don't even remember it until somebody shows me.
We call her short-term Mary.
God.
And I don't know.
And it's getting worse.
I will argue it's not a bad thing. I think the memory is one of the strongest and weakest parts of the way we work.
Double-edged sword.
Because there are things that you shouldn't remember.
Things that you need to forget.
Yeah.
You need to forget it.
Well,
Or
definitely that
You
happens.
could always recall every memory. It would be a tortured experience.
You hear about people who have so much of that, and it actually sometimes can become such a burden that drives people crazy. But I'll say this: the older I get, the less I prioritize memory, especially with all these devices that we now have that help me with that. It's like an accessibility feature in my life is, I don't have to know what day of the month it is in my calendar. I've done that so many times. I'm like, May 12th. Mary, did you mean April 12th? That would be insane. That happens to me all the time because I'm just, but what is the value of memory? And I think the important memories are the ones that I like hold in my body, and memory of emotion and connection to people, I don't forget. But the dates and the figures and the names and the exact storyline, the plot of what happened, I'm getting a looser and looser grip on it. And I think, I don't know, Alex and I both have grandparents who lost their memory pretty significantly as they got older. And we have a pact. We're like, okay, when we get there, number one, let's not carry a bunch of resentment into our old age where when we start to forget things, we get angry. And two, let's just have a good time. Like, what if you let go of needing to remember and you just like, we're in the moment for a minute and you're like, oh, who's this man? He's being so nice to me. Like, let's have a good time.
Be in the moment.
Instead of feeling regret or letting yourself be so afraid. I know you don't have control over all of that, but I'm trying to lean into this part of me that is naturally there. I could probably stand to do some more brain teasers, stay sharp. But yeah, just like don't feel bad about it. Just be in the moment and carry what you need to carry and put down whatever is hard.
So we've been exploring what roots mean to us as people. Can a business have roots? Can an industry have roots?
I definitely feel like we're rooted in Asheville, whatever that means, whatever the future holds for us. It feels like Asheville is such an important part of our story.
I think rooted in a place used to be more noticeable. You know, like
This is that blanding
it's
thing.
the bland. Yeah, I think that it's now not as. I think it will become more powerful because it will be scarce to be rooted in a place that's only that place. I think when a place is everything, people are like, oh, I've been there before.
Right.
I've already been there. They look just like this other place. But when you're in a place that's very unique, that'll be a valuable thing. But I don't think right now businesses have roots, but usually they're not interesting. So people like us have to make their roots interesting. It's like, yeah, you started your business 15 years ago. And so I think we make it grandiose. And not that it's false, it's just that we tell the story in a way that makes it memorable and exciting.
I totally agree with romanticizing it,
Yeah,
especially
you
in
have to
hindsight. You
romanticize
look
it.
back and
Branding
you
is
tell the
basically
story.
romanticizing businesses.
But
Yes.
but to go like think of the tree.
That's the definition of branding.
The tree will grow. You can see in the rings. The tree will grow differently in times of drought. The tree will grow differently based on what nutrients are in the soil.
That's a good
And I
point.
think that has an impact. Like the context in which you arrive matters.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are things that we maybe feel permission to dive into that maybe if we were in a different competitive environment we wouldn't, or if we didn't already have lives and connections here in Asheville we wouldn't.
I just feel like the market informs the story more than the business and the roots, and the story informs the story.
But don't you think it's because business historically has leaned so heavily into the market?
Definitely,
Like
yeah.
we're making every choice based on what the market tells us we're supposed
exactly.
to do.
Yeah.
And we're kind of stupid. we're not doing as much of that as maybe people
Right, you end up
might think
telling
we
a
ought
story
to.
you think people want to hear, and whether or not you're right, I guess, can be determined in the
Yeah.
data and if it works. But what if we were to tell stories that were really interesting and true?
We're gonna do our best. I think that's the scary thing, right? It's like owning what do you put into song versus what do you let fade away.
Right.
And yeah, I just feel like we've been immortalizing market conditions, and which is a part of what we do. Like we know we're in a difficult economic time right now. Design is often seen as a luxury rather than a necessity. We could have a whole episode on that. We think in a way that's pretty unconventional and challenges some norms, and that is not a good thing to be when people are feeling conservative and wanting like a sure thing. And yet, if we're able to make a go of this really, we might collapse in 2 years and you'll find out. But I think that's I need to knock on some wood. I think that's part of the,
Did I just undo your knock?
No.
Oh, good.
oh, okay.
Is it the more
That's
the
a
knock?
myth.
The more the knock, the better.
Yeah.
No, we got to do it 3 times because it cancels out. Yeah, and all I'm trying to say is I think that we have gotten really boring stories about businesses because businesses have been attending to really boring things.
You know what I will say? I will say that when I think about businesses having roots, I think about businesses that are rooted in their history. Like, for instance, one business that comes to mind is like Hickory Nut Gap. That is generations of farmers ethically producing.
But yeah, but they
meat.
buy meat from other farms now because they scale too big.
Do they?
Yes.
Oh, don't say that.
That's hard to hear.
I'm just telling you that it's like that. It's that quote again.
But I'm pretty
you
sure.
scale big enough, and you start to do the.
I
thing
would
that
imagine
you-
though that there still are aligning.
They still have the values.
Yeah, I was going to say,
But it's
knowing
not
who
as
they
rooted.
are as a company, they are very values oriented, and the way they treat their livestock has everything to do with the quality and taste of their meat. So I can imagine they're aligning themselves with companies that have similar values.
I hope.
I
But
love it.
that said, I think they have done a successful job of tapping into the roots of their business and using that as their feel-good story.
I'll try to be quick, but I worked at this company called George P. Johnson. They're a huge experiential marketing company.
Oh, yeah.
They laid me off right around COVID because events looked really different in 2020 or 2021. And I remember part of their onboarding, this is something that I would love to see every company do. Part of their onboarding was I had to sit down and watch, well, nobody was looking over my shoulder, but I thought it was fun to watch a little 5-minute video about how the company came to be.
Oh, yeah.
And the very beginning of this huge experiential marketing company, global, probably at least tens of thousands of employees. They probably staff up for events and it's in the hundreds of thousands. Headquarters in multiple continents. They do huge trade shows like IBM Think. They do I forget the name of the Google one. They're like constantly in the mix. They're turning over easily $1 billion of business a year.
Wow.
They started in, I want to say Detroit, and they started as a bunting company. Does anybody even know what bunting is anymore? It's like the drapery that you put on the front of a stage.
Yes.
Around, you'll
do
see it
know
around
about
like the
this.
4th of
Yeah,
July,
yeah.
or
Yeah,
if people
yeah.
are doing like a
It's the-
throwback.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
a
yeah.
fair. Tell them fair.
Yeah, and
It's-
before that, they made flags. They were
Really?
flag making and bunting, like they
That's
made
where they
flags.
got their
and
start?
they saw an opportunity to make
exciting.
bunting. Yeah,
That
right.
is exciting.
So they were like, oh, we can take this fabric thing that we're doing and make bunting and get people excited. And then they were in the event space and they're like, oh, there's more people want other things, and they happen to be right there where the automotive industry was getting propped up. It's over 100 years old, this company.
I love that.
So it was so cool to see the origin story of this thing that I'm now involved in, and see how, one, there's this culture of like innovation. We talk about the market, like we flow through the market. They weren't like, oh, there's an insight here about the automotive industry. They're like, there's an opportunity. Should we be bold and just try it? And they did.
They didn't have the data we have.
Yeah, and they did it again. And then they formed relationships. And as those companies grew, they grew. So it's, when you start to look at it that way, it starts to feel like, oh, and my route reached out and found another route, and we connected.
That's those dark roots, the possibilities.
Dark roots.
The deep dark roots. But I want to know if you think brand roots matter. Like when you look for brands that you like.
Well, I was thinking, man, I remember like Nike was like my first like die-hard like brand. Athlete. Like everybody's an athlete. I remember that.
Do you know when you go to Dick's and they're like talking about customers, they call us all athletes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry that it's like stolen valor when I walk into Dick's Sporting Goods.
Everyone's an athlete.
Sorry, go ahead.
Everybody's an athlete. No, I just remember like my parents are like diehards on brands, and like when the brands that like we use like put out like a hype reel or like propaganda, I'm like, oh, I'm a part of this. Like I feel very seen, which maybe is a little delusional.
No, I think
but
that's awesome.
When the
They know their audience.
Helene Carhartt like video came out, my dad was in that video.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, and so I was like,
It's
like,
us.
what?
Yeah.
So like I feel like some deep roots with just like some personal brands. Granted, they're probably doing some like very sick shit, but like bad. I mean, like probably treating employees bad. But there is like,
About Nike.
But they've invested in you somehow.
they've invested in me somehow. Like whether it's like,
Was it their marketing that invested in you? That did that help you become an athlete?
no.
Okay.
It was just like when you put a piece of clothing on, it's like the kind of swagger.
Yeah.
I think I relate heavily with brand with like clothing right now, just because like that's what I'm a really diehard about is brands. It makes me a little snobby, but like brands of clothing. Like I remember like certain feelings buying these kind of certain clothes.
I could see that.
And we've got some roots. Like my mom primarily shopped at like Eddie Bauer. So I remember like the vibe of that. And like I think those are my early recollections of like diehard rooted like brands.
I like that you're making the roots, your roots with the brand versus the brand's roots.
Yeah.
That's such a cool perspective.
I like that.
I was immediately going to like how do we give this brand roots so people can
origin
connect with
story.
it? What's the origin story? But there was a personal rooting in those brands.
Yeah, and I also have like just very early memories of like I'd either go to Tractor Supply with my dad, and like that would be like our fun little shopping experience. And then like my grandmothers, they were very shopping oriented, very clothing oriented. So I remember being like a very young kid and just like seeing them try stuff on and like how they felt when they came out of like the fitting room. And I was like, oh, this is like what
something here.
This is like what the brand does to the personality or like how it like morphs together. So when you guys were talking, I was like, my earliest memory of like jeans was like American Eagle jeans and Levi's.
Me too.
Yeah, like
American Eagle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I
Yeah.
remember American.
My
So-
parents took me for Christmas one time. We didn't get clothes on normal times like normal kids because we weren't that rich. So we got clothes for Christmas. That's how we got new clothes.
Yeah.
And they took us to American Eagle and bought us all these clothes that were way too big because we needed to grow into them over the
Yeah.
next couple
Really
years.
came over time. I
But
love
jeans
that.
at American Eagle, they did make me feel so
I'm still
epic.
buying American Eagle jeans
Yeah.
at like 22, and my earliest memory was like when I was like 10 or 12 buying American Eagle jeans with my mom.
There's something about that, like, we are now deep enough into the commercialized whatever in America where, like, you can love a brand that your mom loved. You can love a brand that your grandmother
Diet
loved.
Coke.
Totally.
Right.
No, don't even say Diet Coke on this show.
Brands that
I love Diet Coke.
You do like it?
I love
And
Diet
been
Coke.
around.
See,
for-
I'm a full sugar girly. I'll get a regular Coke, and I feel really
That's
bad.
because
You know
we
what I
grew up
had?
when Diet Coke was cool, and then but you had to drink Diet Coke because you're trying to lose weight all the time.
Yeah.
So when you're like, oh, Diet Coke's out, we can drink real Coke. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is good.
You know what I had yesterday? I had a real Fanta in a bottle.
Oh,
Cane
wow.
sugar.
Oh,
no high
yeah.
fructose.
The orange
Diva?
one, right?
Had
The
one-
original.
The orange one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So good. When I was in Rwanda, I drank those every day. So good. I was thinking about a company. I just wanted to give a shout out to another company that had a really interesting segue, like you were the company that you would work for, Astral Shoes. You know what they're known for?
Wide toe shoes.
Wide toe box?
Really,
We love.
Astro, like, I guess they are kind of a wider toe box, but what's
So
great is they're
wide.
like really, they have the like zero drop.
Right. So they were probably early on that.
You can climb over wet rocks and stuff with them, which I love.
Outdoorsy.
But what's great about them is they started off as a life jacket company, like life jackets
That's
and life
cool.
preservers. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
when
so
you
they're-
just pivot. Yeah.
They did a whole pivot like that. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just interesting how she brought up clothes too, as where she's finding her love of brands or
roots
her
in
connection
brand.
to
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
Because I will commonly tell clients that the brand, what people think about brand now, is basically just the clothing
Yeah.
on a person. So imagine the entity is really the brand. The clothing is like the last part of the brand that gives it the style.
Yeah.
You know, it gives it the thing that helps it walk into a room and feel a certain way or blend in with a certain crowd. And so I think it's interesting too that we've come all the way to the surface from like these deep-rooted memories. And we talked about photos a lot. And it's interesting to me because roots doesn't relate to photos except that it helps us remember. But roots is such a deeper
It's very values. Like when you
very,
sing a
like,
song, what do
it
you pull
comes-
out?
Yeah, values.
Yeah.
It's like something. It's the reason you live.
I was going to
It's
say,
not just
what
a
if-
memory of a black and white photo of your grandparents when they were young. But when I went to this party with my grandma, I was like, I saw large part of my family that I have to make myself feel close to. And I do that so that I can feel close to them because I don't live with them.
You don't live with them.
You know,
yeah.
we live
You
out
don't
of
have as
touch
many
with
experiences
those
them.
roots.
Yeah.
And so, but I know them and I know they know me and I know we come from a similar place. So I'm like, just open myself, even though this feels strange, like it does at reunions and
Yeah,
you know, that feeling. But there's this, like, we've come from this deep values rooted, why do we live, to the surface. Like, what are the leaves on our tree? You know, like what is the clothing?
What if we allowed our roots to play a bigger role with who we are today and what we seek out?
You can change your hair and you can change your clothes, but you'll always find your way back home.
And you, having a really fashionable grandma, like I love that you have this connection to your roots through fashion. Her grandmother worked for Vogue, which is really badass.
Met Monday. Met Monday.
And another thing, it's okay to not remember your roots and not to be able to see them. You're still taking nutrients up through the roots.
Yeah.
It's if there's like an openness to take that nutrients up.
It's almost like I have been trained to receive certain things because of how my ancestors received certain things.
Yeah.
And I can work with that or against that. But there's stuff that I wouldn't think feeds me in the way that it does. And I think coming home to Western North Carolina opens those things up again. Things that you were like, oh, I wasn't getting fed this way when I lived in other places. But being here, I joke, like, I go somewhere else and you can see a lot of beauty in a lot of different places, but I come home and I'm like, this is what the land is supposed to look like. These mountains are
The Appalachian
perfection to me. And
And it matters where we are. Like people
think
will say, it
so.
doesn't matter where you live. You can work online. All this is bullshit.
Yeah.
It matters where you are. Places feel different.
Deep down, everybody wants to be rooted in a local.
Absolutely.
yeah, even if you have to pretend it for a little while to make it happen.
Yeah, connection. Like to find that like you belong somewhere.
Roots equal connection. I love that. Guys, I know these people need to get to work. Somebody's probably just lingering in their car going, guys, just wrap it up.
I thought you were
so
talking
can
about
go in."
us. Yeah, I was like, oh
I gotta
my
get these people
God.
to work.
I'm talking about our audience. And so
I was like, all right,
feel the calling to wrap up this episode on photographs. I mean, roots. Sorry.
You wish. Did you put photographs in there?
Maybe.
This is why you're a photographer.
We shall
We could be
shall
sneaking
find
them
out
in there
one day.
whenever we
Yeah.
want. Nobody's like guarding the
That's
trash
true.
cans.
We could definitely. put
We'll
them
come in
there.
tomorrow and Tim will have wadded up like 30 topics.
It's full up to the brim. Wanton Field.
Guys, thanks for. We know you could spend your time doing any number of things. Thanks for spending it with us. We'll see you next time.
Love you.
Oh, how sweet. You love people.
I do.
I do.
I work with Claude to like write shit, and I'm like, more tender, with more love in your heart. Thanks for listening. This podcast was created and developed by our hosts, Reggie Tidwell, Tim Scroggs, Mary Greene, and Dylan Garcia. Produced by me, Mary Greene. Live production and editing by Will Canady. Graphic design by Dylan Garcia. And set design by Megan Scroggs. Today's episode is presented lovingly by 40 Hearts, creators of enduring value.